Whatever the occasion, effortless elegance is right this way. Because Hilton brings you new ways to stay courtesy of the Nomad London. And it doesn't stop at award-winning dining in a space draped in velvet and illuminated by vintage chandeliers. No, this day goes beyond with unparalleled personalized service and attentive hospitality. Oh, and did we mention the Nomad London can be booked using your Hilton Honors points at Hilton.com? Hilton, for the stay.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold!
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
This is the FPL Draft Zone, your fantasy team's best signing of the season.
The Premier League fixtures have been announced, and it's a good opening game week for Spurs, for City and for Liverpool. We take a look at what all the opening fixtures mean for your draft night, and we talk transfers as big clubs do big things in the summer window. Hello and welcome to the FPL Draft Zone, a podcast all about draft FPL. I'm Dom Crofts, I hope you're well, and it has been a big week already this week because the second of 2 transfer summer windows has officially opened, following on from that slightly weird short summer transfer window that was introduced to help Club World Cup teams get new signings through the door. The main window is now open, and on top of all that, today, on Wednesday, the Premier League fixture list has been announced, meaning fantasy managers around the world can assess who has got who and when, and what that means for who they're going to be prioritising come draft night. So we're going to have a look at the first few weeks of fixtures. We're going to see which teams may well be worth targeting as you flesh out your squad, and we're not going to mess about. So let's get straight into it with a full look at the Game Week 1 fixtures, and it all kicks off on Friday the 15th of August with an 8 PM game between the champions, Liverpool and Bournemouth. On Saturday, the early kickoff sees Aston Villa entertaining Newcastle at Villa Park, and then there are a slew of 4 3 o'clock games. Brighton take on Fulham at the Amex. Nottingham Forest are up against Brentford at the City Ground. Sunderland entertain West Ham at the Stadium of Light, and in North London, Spurs take on Burnley. Wolves play Manchester City in the evening kickoff. That one kicks off at 5:30 PM GMT. And then we move on to Sunday's games, which see Chelsea come up against Crystal Palace at Stamford Bridge, and Manchester United take on Arsenal at Old Trafford. On Monday, the 18th of August, the opening day, or opening weekend, I should say, of the season wraps up with Leeds taking on Everton in an 8 o'clock kickoff. So early thoughts are that Spurs probably have the standout fixture with that home game against newly promoted Burnley. Spurs have won the past 4 meetings with the Clarets, and Burnley do not have a good opening day record in the top flight either. It will see the return of Scott Parker to Spurs as well, so a little narrative to underscore that game. Manchester City's start isn't too bad either. They have an away game at Wolves. Wolves have already lost Cunha and Ryan Aït-Nouri to City. There are now rumours they may also lose their manager Vitor Pereira. Meanwhile, City are having a real overhaul of their squad and their coaching staff, so you would fancy them to do well at Molineux. Depending on who replaces Thomas Frank at Brentford and how many players they go on to lose, Nottingham Forest's home game against the Bees doesn't look too shabby either. And Liverpool's opener at Anfield on Friday night against Bournemouth also looks pretty tasty. Yes, Bournemouth are probably better now than they have ever been since getting into the top flight, but they have lost a lot of their defensive solidity already this summer with their keeper, their centre-back, their left-back, and possibly another centre-back going as well. And Liverpool have also won 12 of their last 13 meetings with the Cherries, including their last 5. Teams who have tricky starts include Arsenal, who go to Manchester United, who will surely be better this season than last season once they've had a full pre-season under Ruben Amorim. And Newcastle United also have a tough trip to Aston Villa on the opening day. So the big winners for game week 1, for me at least, are Spurs, Forest, Liverpool and City, and the big losers are Arsenal and Newcastle. On to game week 2 though, and among the highlights here, Liverpool move from the winners list to the losers list as they actually have to go away from home to Newcastle. Manchester City have a home game against Spurs, which looks okay, and Arsenal are at home to Leeds, so their start should ease a little. It's another tricky game for Wolves though, who go to Bournemouth, and Chelsea have a second London derby in a row with a trip to West Ham. Forest meanwhile go to the FA Cup winners Crystal Palace. So from the first 2 game weeks, if you take those 2 game weeks in total, I would say Manchester City look like the best bet for maximum points, with a slight change in fortunes for Liverpool with that away game at Newcastle. The standout fixtures in game week 3 include Manchester United, who are at home to Burnley, so hopefully they'll get their season off and running then. And Aston Villa, they also have a home game coming up in game week 3 against Crystal Palace. But actually game week 3 features a lot of really tough matchups. Liverpool take on Arsenal at Anfield. Newcastle go to Leeds, which is not going to be easy, and Manchester City go to Brighton, which could go one way or the other. Chelsea have a third London derby in as many game weeks with a match against Fulham at Stamford Bridge, so no easy wins there in my opinion. It is probably worth flagging at this point that Arsenal have away games at Manchester United and Liverpool in their first 3 games, which is not ideal if you were planning to stack up on Arsenal assets. And again, even though Brighton away could represent a tough test for Manchester City, Pep's side definitely do seem to have the easiest start of those teams expected to be challenging for the title based on the first 3 game weeks, because they do not play any of their title rivals. Game week 4 highlights include a Manchester derby between City and United, but it is at the Etihad, so again it could be a lot worse for Pep's side. Liverpool travel to Burnley, which looks like a lovely fixture for the champions. Newcastle are at home to Wolves, which is a decent game for the Toon. And Chelsea still don't have to leave London, as they have a 4th derby in the capital, this time away at Brentford. And then game week 5 sees City travel to the Emirates to take on Arsenal. There's a Merseyside derby at Anfield for Liverpool and Everton. Bournemouth entertain Newcastle. Spurs go to Brighton. And Chelsea finally leave the capital for a game against Manchester United at Old Trafford. So taking those 5 game weeks and looking for some major headlines to flag, Arsenal are one of the top stories because they have a horrible start to the season. Manchester United away, Liverpool away, and Manchester City at home in their first 5 games. They also go to Newcastle in game week 6, by the way. So 4 of their first 6 games are absolutely horrendous. Liverpool have a reasonable start, nice games at home to Bournemouth and Everton, and a trip to Burnley in their first 5, so not too bad for the champions. 3 of Newcastle's first 5 are away from home, and 1 of their 2 home games is against Liverpool, so not ideal for them. And Manchester City do have a decent first 4 weeks before they go to the Emirates to take on Arsenal, as they play Wolves away, Spurs at home, Brighton away, and Manchester United at home. If you're looking at the first 5 fixtures overall, I would say of all the teams, the kindest start falls for Aston Villa. Yes, they have Newcastle on the opening day, but it is at Villa Park, and they follow that up with games against Brentford, Crystal Palace, Everton and Sunderland, so not too bad for them. Fulham's isn't awful either, with Brighton away, United at home, Chelsea away. and then 2 home games against Leeds and Brentford. City's fixture run does look strong, as already mentioned. I suspect they're going to get off to a flyer. And then one other team to highlight, Nottingham Forest, who, yes, they do have to go to Arsenal in Game Week 4, but their other opening 4 fixtures see them go up against Brentford, Crystal Palace, West Ham United and Burnley, so not too bad there. And if Nuno can do the business again next season, it may well be worth prioritising their players for your team on draft night. As we already mentioned earlier, the transfer window is also hotting up. There have already been a lot of signings made by Premier League clubs, and there are some red hot and roasting rumours of players set to sign for teams. So we're going to go through team by team to see who's got who and who is rumoured to be getting who, and we'll flag if we think they're worthwhile signings for your draft team based on their stats. So starting with Arsenal, no signings so far, but it sounds like Martin Zubimendi is a done deal. He is a midfielder from Real Sociedad. He starred for Spain in the Nations League, and based on last season's stats, he loves a yellow card. 11 yellows last season for Zubimendi, along with 2 goals and 2 assists. He is seen as the heir apparent to Thomas Partey, so that means he's not really going to be an FPL consideration due to his position on the pitch. Arsenal also look like they're close to signing Kepa as a backup goalkeeper, so he's another one that offers very little interest in draft. And then there is their striker and left winger conundrums. 2 positions that it seems the Gunners are keen to strengthen in. It looks like it's going to be one of Victor Gyökeres or Benjamin Sesko up front, and given the sheer lack of forwards in the game, whoever they get should obviously be high on your list for rounds 1 and 2 of draft night. As for the wingers, a lot of names are being linked, but none of any real substance. There's been Rodrigo of Real Madrid, Antoine Semenyo of Bournemouth, Nico Williams of Athletic Bilbao, all mentioned, but it's very much a watch this space at Arsenal right now. No signings so far. As for Aston Villa, no signings either, but Marcus Rashford, Jadon Sancho and Jesus Rodriguez have all been linked as potential wing options, and a new goalkeeper seems likely as well, with Emi Martinez expected to leave, but nothing to report on that yet either. As for Bournemouth, they actually have made some signings. Hurrah! They brought in Adrien Truffert from Rennes for £11.5 million. He is a left-back, and he is expected to replace Milos Kerkez, who seems set to sign for Liverpool. Truffert is 23 years old. He is French. He got 3 goals and 2 assists in 35 games last season, so that's an attacking return every 7 matches. By comparison, the man he's replacing, Milos Kerkez, finished the season with 2 goals and 6 assists in 41 games, which is an attacking return every 5 games or so. So he's not quite as good as Kerkez in terms of his attacking output, but he's still pretty good. Julien Laurent described him as one of Ligue 1's best left-backs. He pretty much matches Kerkez for crosses attempted based on last season's stats, and he was in the top 10 overall players for progressive passes received, meaning he will get into attacking positions. He'll be joining a team that conceded the 6th fewest goals in the Premier League last season and gave up the 6th fewest big chances, but the risk, of course, is whether the sales of Kerkez, Huijsen, Zabarnyi and the loss of Kepa will change that solidity that Bournemouth enjoyed next season. Definitely one to keep in mind, though, as a mid to late round pickup when you're looking for attack-minded defenders. On to Brentford, who have signed Liverpool's backup keeper Caoimhín Kelleher as a replacement for Mark Flecken, who has moved to Germany. Kelleher was fantastic for Liverpool last season when he played, and he actually had the highest points per match of any keeper in the game, which is pretty good, seeing as he did end up playing a decent number of minutes as well. And in more good news, he replaces a goalkeeper at Brentford who had to make more saves than any other keeper last year by quite some distance. Flecken ended up making 153 saves last year. Aaron Ramsdale was the second busiest keeper, having made 125. So 28 more saves for Flecken than Ramsdale. That means there should be save points aplenty for Kelleher. Flecken also ended up as the 4th highest point scoring keeper in the game last season. And without any superstars, especially if Brian Mbeumo does leave the club, I think Kelleher could end up being a bit of a bonus points magnet at Brentford in the new campaign. So I'd be placing him quite high up on the keeper shortlist when it comes to making your moves for that position, although of course keepers should always be a latter round pick. Do not go in early for one. They are just not worth it. Brighton have signed a Greek striker from Olympiacos called Kostoulas. He's cost them just under £30 million. He's only 18 years old. He got 6 goals in 21 games in Greece last season. There is talk that João Pedro is going to be leaving Brighton in the near future, but I don't think Kostoulas will be the long-term replacement for him in the starting lineup, so I wouldn't be too interested in him right now. No transfers of note from Burnley just yet, and I'm afraid as a newly promoted side, no draft manager worth his salt is going to be targeting too many players from the Clarets when it comes to draft night. Chelsea, though, well, they have been busy. They've signed Liam Delap from Ipswich and a host of South Americans, the pick of whom is Estevão Willian. He is 18 years old and is widely regarded as the next big player to come out of Brazil. He got 11 goals and 5 assists in 33 appearances for Palmeiras last season. He's playing in the Club World Cup as we speak for the Brazilian side, and he could be an absolute gem in the Premier League if, and it is a big if Chelsea decide to play him. They have so many options across their team. There is no guarantee that they will. And when you take that into consideration, and you take into consideration the fact that he's got to adapt to a new country, he's got to learn a new language, and he is only 18, and I would say it's probably not worth rolling the dice on him on draft night unless he absolutely smashes it in pre-season when he does join up with a West London club. Liam Delap, on the other hand, would be high on my list. Any striker is a good striker in draft because there are so few of them. And Delap ended up with 12 goals and 2 assists in a pretty dreadful Ipswich side. So you'd expect him to at least match that again with Chelsea. He's already got an assist for them in the Club World Cup. Crystal Palace, well, they look like they're going to strengthen their goalkeeping position with the signing of Walter Benitez from PSV Eindhoven. He is a title winner. He was an ever-present for the Dutch club last season. He's 32 years old, and he will make choosing a Palace keeper next season a little bit of a gamble for FPL managers, because as well as Henderson has done, you would have to assume that Benitez is not coming here for one last payday. He will want to play. Everton look like they're going to sign Kyle Walker from Manchester City, presumably as an old replacement for the even older Ashley Young. The Toffees were actually pretty good after David Moyes took over halfway through last season. They kept 12 clean sheets over the course of the campaign, which was the second best in the top flight. So if they can repeat that next season, Walker might not be a dreadful draft pick. You would assume he will start most matches, but again, he would have to come in a very late round for me.
This episode is brought to you by State Farm. Sports are all about teamwork, and so is insurance. Whether you need an in-person or digital assist, State Farm is there to help you choose the right coverage for your home, car, and more. Get a game plan that helps fit your life and talk to State Farm today. State Farm with the assist. Coverage options are selected by the customer. Availability and eligibility vary by state.
If you went on a road trip and you didn't stop for a Big Mac or drop a crispy fry between the car seats or use your McDonald's bag as a placemat, then that wasn't a road trip. It was just a really long drive. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
At participating McDonald's.
This episode is brought to you by Nespresso and Samra Origins by the Weekend Coffee Collection.
Introducing Samra Origins. My collaboration with Nespresso is a connection to my roots, to my mother, Samra. Coffee that hits the right notes. It transports you. Crafted with unique notes and bold, soaring flavors. Experience a taste that moves you. Nespresso and Samra Origins.
Discover more at Nespresso.com.
Fulham are thought to be in the market for a winger. They may well go back in for Reece Nelson, who they had on loan from Arsenal last year. They've also been linked with Atalanta's Raul Bellanova, who is an Italian international defender and attacking wing-back. He got 9 assists in Serie A last season, which was the second most in the division. So he's one to keep an eye on if you want a potential Daniel Munoz clone, only in West London, not South London. And Leeds are being linked with a new striker with both Rodrigo Muniz and Everton's Beto, rumoured to be on Daniel Farke's shortlist. Either player would suddenly become a very tasty draft option if they did make the move, whereas if they don't make the move and they stay where they are, their appeal would significantly reduce given their risk of rotation. If they go to Leeds, you would assume they will be first choice. Liverpool have been busy. They've signed Jeremy Frimpong from Leverkusen to replace Trent Alexander-Arnold. They're expected to sign Milos Kerkez from Bournemouth and Florian Wirtz as well, who we will talk about in more detail when that deal is confirmed. Frimpong, though, has been confirmed and he has some seriously big boots to fill. However, his previous season suggests he could be an excellent draft asset. In 4.5 seasons in Germany, he scored 30 goals and got 44 assists, which works out at an attacking return every 2.5 matches, and he was twice named in the Bundesliga Team of the Year. He's also played 12 times for his country, the Netherlands. He's got 1 goal for them as well. And last season, he got 11 attacking returns in 33 games. So again, a return every 3 matches. Frimpong is clearly a player to target as one of your first defensive pickups. He will start every week. He will keep a good number of clean sheets. And he will be a really good attacking threat. Manchester City have brought in Ryan Aït-Nouri from Wolves, Ryan Cherki from Lyon, and Tijani Reinders from AC Milan. Most of you will know what Aït-Nouri offers, which is an awful lot of attacking threat. He was joint second for assists of all defenders in the Premier League last season, and he was also joint second for goals scored from defenders. So if he can find a regular place in City's starting 11, he would be a great draft signing. Cherki is another one who could be an amazing signing if he finds a way into their starting 11. He had a brilliant season for Lyon last year, got 12 goals and 20 assists in all competitions. He's a French international, a bit of a maverick, fun to watch, and he's surely being touted as KDB's long-term replacement at the Etihad. He shone for Lyon on the right-hand side, where he was given the freedom to float inside. And with Savinho hardly setting the world alight in his first season at City, he could easily make that position his own. Having said that, just a reminder that as a new signing in a new league, playing for a manager who loves a bit of rotation roulette, he will still be a bit of a risk. However, if he does hit the ground running, he could become a key component in any successful draft team. And then there is Tijani Reinders, who got 15 goals in all competitions from midfield for AC Milan last season, and he has presumably been brought in as Ilkay Gundogan's replacement. Now, there have been quite a few players over the last few seasons who have swapped Serie A for the Premier League, and they don't tend to do too well. Joshua Zirkzee and Rasmus Højlund, to name just 2. So I do think this one could go either way, and even though, yes, he had a breakout season at the San Siro this season, he only averaged an attacking return every 4.5 matches when he was in the Eredivisie with AZ Alkmaar. And overall at Milan, it's an attacking return every 3.7 matches. So it is solid, but it is not incredible, especially when you consider that change in standard from those leagues to the Premier League. Manchester United have signed Cunha from Wolves for £62.5 million. He was excellent last season, and despite United being a bit of a car crash so far under Ruben Amorim, and Cunha getting in trouble a few times during the course of the last campaign, he should be high on your list of striker options come draft night. You can certainly see him becoming a bit of a talisman at Old Trafford. Newcastle are yet to make any moves, but they have been linked with a good few players, including Burnley keeper James Trafford, which would complicate their goalkeeping options for draft managers. And they've also been linked with João Pedro of Brighton and Anthony Elanga of Nottingham Forest. If either of those players do make the move to St James's Park, you would expect them to have an even better attacking output than they managed last season, so they would be well worth keeping in mind. Forest themselves have been linked with AC Milan winger Alexis Saelemaekers, presumably as a replacement for Elanga. There is no agreement as yet because they're bartering over a fee, I believe, but Saelemaekers spent last season at Roma, where he got 7 goals and 7 assists in 31 matches, so pretty much an attacking return every 2 games. Not bad at all, but again, Serie A to the Premier League does not always end well. We did mention in the last show, by the way, the very real threat of over-relying on new signings in your draft team, because the vast majority do not do well in their first season, so go and give that a listen if you want to hear more about that. Moving on to Sunderland, though, they are looking to replace Dortmund-bound Jobe Bellingham with Sam Greenwood of Leeds United. He got 7 goals and 6 assists in the Championship last season when he was on loan at Preston. And Spurs have made the signings of Matthias Tell and Kevin Danso permanent. Danso may or may not become a first-team regular under Thomas Frank, who has been known to play 3 at the back. If he does that, he'll probably play regularly. Tell ended the season with 2 goals and 2 assists from 900 minutes, which is the equivalent of 10 games. And when you put it like that, 4 returns in 10 games is not bad, especially if he remains classified as a midfielder next season and continues to play further forward. Spurs have also been heavily linked with a move for Brian Mbeumo, who would be a fantastic signing, of course, and also Nathan Collins, who is another Brentford player who could end up reuniting with Thomas Frank. Collins got 7 assists last season, which was the joint second best from a defender behind Fulham's Anthony Robinson. West Ham's first summer transfer window under Graham Potter has got off to an underwhelming start. No signings as yet. They have been linked with a move for Rangers striker Hamza Igamane, who is a Moroccan forward. He got 15 goals and 2 assists in 27 games last season, but be warned, the SPL is not the Premier League. Remember, Odsonne Edouard was outrageously prolific for Celtic, and since moving to England, he has managed just 18 goals across 5 seasons, with 7 goals in one campaign being his highest return so far. So Igamane comes in with a big old SPL warning. Aaron Ramsdale is also being linked with a move to East London, as is Adama Bojang, otherwise known as the African Hurricane. Yes, the African Hurricane. Bojang is an African wonder kid and a striker. He's been linked with moves to Manchester United, Chelsea and Manchester City as well, but it seems like West Ham are keen to get their claws into him. He got 6 goals and 2 assists in 26 games playing in the Swiss top flight last season. And finally, let's take a little look at Wolves, who have already lost Cunha and Ryan Ait-Nouri, and as a result they are being linked with a lot of talent, including Nice striker Evan Gesand, who got 12 goals and 9 assists last season. Fer Lopez is also being linked. He's a midfielder from Celta Vigo who got 2 goals in 17 games last campaign. And Connor Cody could also be set for a return to Molineux following Leicester's relegation. Of that little lot, Gesand would obviously be the pick of the bunch because, as we've mentioned already, strikers are like gold dust and must be prioritised, even if they have weird names like Evan Gesand. So that's the state of the transfer window right now. Some signings have been made, some signings are set to come. There will be more rumours than you can shake a stick at. You will have to decide what you believe and what you don't. And after all is said and done, remember this warning: only a very small fraction of those new players will make enough of an impact to be considered a good early round pickup in draft. So please be careful. If they're strikers, then of course they're worth investing in because there are always so few options up front. But if you're looking at a Rangers, a Cherky or a player coming into the league from another country, please weigh up the risks of bringing them in early, as historically most players do not acclimatise quickly to the Premier League. It is very easy to be seduced by a big name or an exciting signing, but it doesn't always work out well in FPL. And for more information on that, have a listen to the previous pod where we break down draft strategy for draft night based on historical data and some cold, hard facts. But that is it for today's show. I hope it's given you a few things to think about when it comes to prioritising your draft order ahead of the big night, whenever that may be. We will be back soon, no doubt, looking at more signings that will come in between now and the end of the summer transfer window. But until next time, it is bye for now.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.